The night of December 3, 2024, will likely go down as one of the most shocking and controversial in South Korea's recent history. It started with an unexpected announcement. President Yoon Suk Yeol, addressing the nation in a late-night TV broadcast, declared martial law. For many South Koreans, it felt surreal. Martial law had not been invoked since 1979 during the dictatorship of Park Chung-hee, and the country had since built a reputation as a strong parliamentary democracy. What led a democratically elected president to make such an extreme decision? The president's justification in his address, Yoon framed the movie as essential to saving the nation from anti-state forces. He claimed that these groups, allegedly sympathetic to North Korea, were undermining South Korea's security and stability. To many, this explanation seemed suspiciously vague. Who were these anti-state forces, and why had the threat suddenly become so dire? Critics quickly noted that Yoon offered no concrete evidence of these claims. As the president spoke, South Koreans began to piece together what was really happening. The martial law declaration was not about external threats, but a desperate response to Yoon's domestic political troubles. Political context: a presidency under siege. Yoon Suk Yeol came to power in May 2022, riding a wave of conservative support. Known for his hardline stance on North Korea, Yoon promised strength and accountability, but his presidency quickly unraveled. By April 2024, his party suffered a humiliating defeat in the general elections, leaving the opposition with a supermajority in parliament. This effectively made Yoon a lame duck president, unable to pass legislation without opposition approval. Adding to his woes, Yoon's approval ratings plummeted to record lows, hovering around 17 due to a string of scandals. His administration faced accusations of corruption, including one involving his wife, who allegedly accepted a luxury Dior handbag, sparking public outrage. Calls for an investigation into the First Lady grew louder, but Yoon resisted, further damaging his credibility. In the days leading up to the martial law declaration, tensions escalated. The opposition pushed to slash the government's budget, a move Yoon couldn't veto. They also introduced impeachment motions against key officials in Yoon's cabinet, accusing them of failing to investigate corruption. Cornered politically, Yoon seemed to gamble everything on an authoritarian move to consolidate power. Martial law unfolds. By late Tuesday evening, the impact of Yoon's declaration was already visible. The military took control of key sites, including the National Assembly. Helicopters landed on the parliament's roof, and masked soldiers stormed the building. Local media captured dramatic scenes of staffers using fire extinguishers to hold off soldiers attempting to take control. The military announced immediate restrictions. Protests were banned, political activity was suspended, and media outlets were placed under government control. Despite these sweeping measures, South Korea's democratic spirit remained alive. The opposition, led by Lee Jae-myung of the Democratic Party, called on lawmakers to convene an emergency session to overturn the decree. Lee also appealed to the public, urging citizens to gather outside Parliament in protest. My fellow citizens, please come to the National Assembly. Tanks, soldiers, and knives cannot rule our democracy, he declared. A nation responds. Thousands of South Koreans answered Lee's call, flooding the streets outside the heavily guarded National Assembly. Protesters chanted slogans like "No Martial Law" and "Strike Down Dictatorship." Despite the military presence, the demonstrations remained largely peaceful, showcasing the resilience of South Korea's democratic values. Inside Parliament, lawmakers worked against the clock. Many had to find creative ways to bypass military barricades, some climbing fences to reach the chamber. By 1-0 AM, a decisive vote was held. With 190 out of 300 lawmakers present, the Assembly declared martial law unconstitutional and struck it down. Yoon was left with no choice but to accept Parliament's decision. A few hours later, he appeared before the nation again, lifting the martial law order. But the damage was done. His authority and reputation were in tatters. What it means for South Korea. Martial law is a measure reserved for the gravest emergencies, such as war or total societal breakdown. That Yoon invoked it over political struggles was unprecedented and deeply concerning. Comparisons were immediately drawn to South Korea's authoritarian past, when martial law was used to suppress dissent and consolidate power. While the swift action by lawmakers and citizens averted a larger crisis, the episode highlighted the fragility of democracy, even in a country like South Korea, which has made significant strides in its democratic development since 1987. What's next for President Yoon? For Yoon, the future looks bleak. His political capital is virtually non-existent. With an opposition-dominated parliament and plummeting public support, his presidency now seems defined by survival rather than governance. Many analysts predict that impeachment may be the next step, as opposition leaders weigh the political risks of removing him entirely. As South Koreans wake up to the aftermath of these events, one thing is clear. This chapter will serve as a reminder of the power of collective action and the importance of safeguarding democracy against authoritarian overreach.